everyone, and welcome to Divinely Empowered with Antonia. Today we have Jenny Lee. I'm not sure who's hosting who, actually. It might even be the Jenny Lee show. Hi, Jenny.
Hey, how's it going? It's going pretty good.
Good. How are you going?
Well, it's a Wednesday here, so we'll find out at the end of the day how it's going to end. So last night was pretty long, but the last 2 weeks it's been that way every day. So
what does that mean?
Well, I mean, it's everything that's affecting us during this time of our new world doing a flip and waking up in the 4D eventually. And and that's the thing that's happening is I think the ones that have been prepared, they're kind of at that steady post. But the ones that have no clue of what's going on, they're reacting in a freak out mode, and everything that the media shows you to them is real, and a lot of it is not.
Don't watch the news. I think that's the easy answer to that, isn't
it? I know, right? But they keep getting sucked back into it.
There are demons in the news. There are demons in horror films. Yes. There are very dark entities and things which are fear-mongering, and so we get stuck. We watch something gory, and it's designed to have these multidimensional beings who are feeding on loosh or emotional energy to get us all het up and into fear and super worried about everything that's going around. And that's by design to feed on our emotional energy. So watching the news, watching horror films, watching all these scary things, if they affect you, you might be, a Zen master. And if you're a Zen master, you might be able to watch them. I can watch horror films and things like that. Well, I mean, to a degree, I watch all the vampire stuff and that sort of jazz. But it doesn't bother me, and I don't think about it afterwards. But a lot of people are obsessed with watching things like these real murder shows. And I think that's completely batty. I think it's rewiring people's brains for anxiety.
Yeah, it does. And that's where identification of when you're getting sucked into something and you're making your energy a part of it. So like I always tell people, look outside the plated glass and, you can view it, but definitely not connect your energy to it. That's the most important thing, because then you're going to be a part of it, and then energy comes in and just makes a weakness about your soul, and then your mind starts to have these dreams, and then it starts to affect you. Yeah, it's an idea that's presented, and then the conscience is like ravaging over it and deciding what is real and what is connected to you.
So Jenny, just to let you know, our producer has just said we're not live on your YouTube. It's not working there. So I don't know what to do necessarily.
What we can do is
we can just replay it later so you're not on the live, I guess.
Yeah. Well, what I can do is just put it in my groups and then I'll download it into my YouTube.
Yeah, we'll just have to do it later. So we'll have to figure out for the next live to be live on both of our platforms.
Yeah.
Seems to be these technical issues that are really annoying. Okay, no problem. Yeah. So you're saying about people's dreams. Go
on. Well, the thing is the whole process is the fact that you're dealing with a development of attachment. So once you go through an emotion or you see someone that's attached to a situation, then the left side is like puts fear in your process and attach yourself to it. And then all of a sudden we have these dreams and these processing. It says stream to your audience. Hold on. Hold on. It's doing that.
She's going to press some buttons and make it work on her one too. Yeah, I think there's a bit of a learning curve with these things. We're just trying to be all professional and have the banners and make it look pretty. And we're just learning our way as we're going. So bear with, but at least it's live on my one, I believe. And hello to everyone who's on the chat. So I'm just going to say hello to a few people and give Jenny a minute to do all that. So Marzena, hello. Pinwheel Girl, Karen, Keely, Kelsey, Ricky Lee, Nancy, Colleen, and Albertine. Hello and welcome, and thank you very much for being here. If you do have any questions, just put them in the comments and we will do our best to get to them. The talk today is about We're going to be discussing healing and the dark side of healing, all the stuff that people have to go through, what's going on in the world, and how to just be healthy with crazy world going on, and really what it means to be a healer, and really what it means to have got to the place we have, because it's not very well spoken about. People don't express and explain how difficult it is to get to the level that Jenny and I have been doing it. And we've both been doing it for 20 odd years. Are you 20 years or are you more now, darling? About 20
Me?
years.
Oh, geez, longer than that.
Yeah.
I think I've been doing it all my life, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And it's not all roses. And that's the thing we want to express. Like, the thing is, for me, healing is now trendy. It's now on vogue. When I started, it was weird. I was, it was very strange, and no one had heard about Reiki, and yoga was fringe. That's when I started. It was a different world. And so, really to be a top level healer, you do need to pay your dues. And the people who are very, very good have normally got a couple of decades worth of experience. There is something to it. There can be young, new bucks who have got into it, who are extremely, extremely talented. But there is a thing about paying your dues to God and to the universe.
Yes.
And there is a thing about it. And it's something that's what we wanted to really discuss today. Like, if you haven't really been in this game for a long time, you haven't got the skin in the game. You haven't had the faith, and faith is rewarded, because we've had to, now everything is popular, and like, people are interested in healing when they weren't before. And if your faith hasn't been challenged, I don't think you've got the innate gifts, unless your faith has been challenged and you really, really had to dig yourself up, pull yourself up by your shoestraps, and really go through the mill, and really, be ostracized and alienated, but not just for a couple of years, for a long, long time. And there's suffering to it. There is an element of suffering to get these gifts. Now, the way that I teach means that people can fast track, but the people who, there's a difference between a teacher and a healer. You can become a great healer or a great seer probably quite quickly, but you won't be a teacher quickly, because that means that you have to really go through quite a lot of rubbish. What do you think?
Yeah, you do. Well, the thing is, it's just like Spirit says, those teachers, this is specific on the teachers, that they said, we've been teaching you from a very young age to develop into and be standing in that path to form them so you can lead them. That's completely different. So a person that's only been doing this 4 or 5 years, Spirit is like, they're not in the capability of leading it. We didn't. No. They would have started a long time ago. So
that's what I'm thinking. And I think we want to talk about, there are charlatans around. There are people who are new to this sort of stuff, who are getting big followings, who are working in lots of different ways, and there's a number of them. And I think it's important that, if you've got a history with this, if you're any good, you've got a history with it, and you've gone through the mill. So it's about worshiping false idols slightly.
It is, but the thing is literally, this is what I've always said, that there is no room for anything else but Spirit to lead you. And if you're putting something in between you and Spirit as a teacher, it's not going to work. It's not, you can't, like I said, you can't dap from your ego darkness and then dab from the light and say you're serving both. You can't serve both. So
no, you can't.
So the teaching process is, you have to stand in that light, in that path that Spirit wants you to do. And there's going to be stones and swords thrown your way because you're doing something outside the box in the way you do it. And that's like I've told you, I can just completely look at a person and they'll tell me what their intentions are or what they're doing. And I see through things. I don't see people in their physical aspect first. I see through it. And so, and I see their intentions. But I also see the weakness. And that's why I talked about yesterday on my YouTube, that those ones are very strong and staying in that line and leading those people because they have been taught at a very young age that one energy is the most important. So stand the line. Okay. And the other ones, that have not been trained to the full effect, and I'm talking about the leaders, they're going to run and they're going to hide because it's not built in them. They haven't gotten to that point
Not
yet.
brave. Not everyone is brave. And I
Right.
think bravery is something which is very, very important. Who's actually on the battle lines? And who's actually dealing with when the stuff happens? Who's actually
Right.
standing there in formation, helping?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
really, really, who's there in formation and who's helping? Because I think it's easy. I just think that some people are thinking it's a good way to make money, and I think that there is a dark side of it. But who's really there, and who's done it, and who's done it consistently for decades,
Right.
and actually been there on the front lines helping for the entire time, regardless, and then things become bountiful later because you've actually proven yourself and done the bloody work.
See, and this is where it changes. When I started teaching, I sat back with Spirit and they're like, we don't do it that way. That is, because I want you to attune to each individual through us and give our message the way we need them to work, not in a bigger stadium process. Not everybody's at the same level. So I adjust my teaching for those levels. And the thing where I get a little irritated is people, they can't see it. But I think people forget that there are real seers and real psychics, and we can see through the bullshit. They forget. It's like, do you understand that I can really see what you're selling, and that what you don't have the capability of doing or the strength in doing?
Right.
There's an energy behind, I want you to globally, the ones that are really standing up right now, there's an energy with them that you can feel this presence. So I'm going to use what me and we've been talking about for days is Jack Rourke. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys about that story.
Yeah, tell me about him. You were talking about him the other day and saying he was dishy. That's as much as I know about him. He's dishy.
So I'm going to tell you guys the story is my friend in Montana, and she's blind, and she listened to him on Coast to Coast. And I was like, she goes, you're just like him. You and him are just the same on your capability, your teaching, your understanding, and all that stuff. And then I saw him and I went, I'm not talking to him. Because very attractive, but he has an essence of spiritual energy that is strong. Yeah. It's dominating and it's there, and you can feel the consistency of it. And so, yes. So,
and it was, go on.
Jack Rourke, and he's called the Rational Psychic. So, and he's very good at what he does. And that's what I'm saying. You can
the light coming from people. Like it's what's really interesting, and I've noticed this because I've been around a lot of celebrities, and I've got this muddled, and I'm sure Jenny, with great sight, you wouldn't get this muddled, but there's something that I've struggled with in the past, because I'm attracted to light. I'm really, really, really like a moth to a flame, attracted to light. And when someone is radiant, and I've got this thing in me, and because in days of old, it used to be the most enlightened person would be in charge. So then I am attracted to the light, and the person with the most light, I've got, I'm looking at them thinking they know more, they're more advanced, and we should be following them. So I've always been, and I think that is true, but where I've got mud, I agree with myself in that still. I think that's right. Because it's I think they're more utilitarianism, which is the greatest good for all souls. But where I get muddled is celebrities. So basically, when people are looking at celebrities, say you're watching, I don't know, a movie with whomever in it, people watching the movie is projecting photons, which are particles of light, at the person in the movie, musicians, anyone on the stage or screen or whatever. You are looking at them, but you are projecting your light, your love towards them. And unfortunately, not many of them have done much spiritual work. Some of them have, not many. It seems to be not as common as one would hope. And so what happens is they look radiant, super duper radiant, because there's all this light, but it's mirroring off them. It's not coming from within, it's coming from outside and then ricocheting back. And they look like they're enlightened. They look radiant. They look angelic. So but they haven't done the work. So that's the thing about worshipping false idols as well, because I've been around supermodels and movie stars and people like that, and I've just gone, wow, because they are just so freaking luminescent. They look incredible. And then I've let my guards down and not seen, actually, that's because of all the adoration onto that person mirroring back out. So I think that's a really important thing. And the people who've done the work are actually radiant and actually look like movie stars, but that's coming from within outward, not necessarily people's, hair and makeup and body and all the rest of it, but there's a luminescence when you've actually done the work that you actually look extremely, extremely radiant. And yeah.
Well, I kind of see things on the opposite on celebrities. I actually will not do classes or teach with them because there's so much in their ego.
Not all
they
of
want
them.
to be right and they want to dominate things, and I'm just like, no, I don't do Hollywood people because their ego's so big they're not listening to spirit, and so I won't do that.
Not all of them. Some of them, I agree with you, but I agree with you, but I know a few who are actually very, very calm, kind, beautiful people. So not all of them, but many. Agreed, many, most.
I've turned down a lot.
That's interesting. You've turned down a lot to be working with you personally or to be doing group classes.
Because this is the thing I've learned, and if people overtalk, and they're not allowing spirit to translate what spirit is saying, and they just want to control and dominate the conversation. I'm like, how can you listen to me and then listen to them? Because you are not listening. To listen to spirituality, you have to listen. There's a quietness, a constant process of listening, and their brain is just going. It's just like, stop. You want to control this, and it's not the way it is. You have to let spirit take control. And that's why you can see these phenomenal people that have been raised at a young age that have the ability to be healers. This is the greatest thing that I've seen. I'm not talking about teaching. I'm talking about healers. And because it's an energy and a frequency that's inside them, they just have not brought it online. And once they do, they just blossom and they just go through the door fast and they can see things. But they're kind of in the background, and then they know that they have it, but then they come up at a slow pace of presenting it to themselves. But then when you show them they have it, then they build the confidence, and then they're like, boom, this is what I want to do. This is what I feel. So, I mean, there's different potentials and different ways that people get it, but I'm like, the difference is healers have it born with them in a natural way, and eventually it comes.
Yeah.
Teachers are like, it's stalled in them at a young age to lead. Okay. And then the way they process it and the way they're put in their path, and they're thrown in the coals and they're thrown on the track. And I will tell you, each spiritual teacher that has had those processes where they're in bed for 3 days because their energy is so ravaged.
3 months.
Yes, it's insane.
3 months. I'm going to tell you about my story about this because I've got a good story. Well, I mean, it's been years. So the work that I've been doing. So basically, I have this idea, for people who don't really know me, that we're all gods and goddesses who forgot that we're gods and goddesses, and we've got our energy systems are completely shut down. Partly because of the precession of the equinox and coming into the golden age, and partly because there are malevolent forces shutting our energy system down. So it's a combination. And I've spent the last 20 years awakening my energy system, and now I've got lots of superpowers. I've got lots of abilities, lots of ascended or ascending abilities, and I can do quite a lot of stuff which I don't know anyone else that can. But I've gone through the ringer to get this stage. I've done a lot of work, and there were days, weeks, months when I couldn't get out of bed at all.
Right.
So I would have to crawl. If I wanted to feed myself, I would come out of bed. I'd roll out of bed. I'd crawl, and then I'd shimmy down the stairs on my butt, and I would crawl into the kitchen, put the kettle on, and collapse on the floor. I was unable to feed myself, and I wasn't able to see friends. I wasn't able to have relationships or have any sort of life for years. For years. This is not something that was easy. And the amount of pain in my body, the amount of DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, it was like I was just beaten up all the time and in so much pain. The muscle aches like you couldn't imagine. And my ex experienced some of it living with me, and he was a professional Muay Thai boxing teacher and fighter. And he got not even half of what I had, because I saw what state he was in. He said, this is worse than the training and fighting from Muay Thai as a professional fighter. And what they do is training is what a soccer player or a football player does. That's their warm up. And then they start beating the bejesus out of each other. And that's their training. And what I was doing was at least twice as hard as what he was doing, and more than any athlete, because that Muay Thai is one of the hardest sports to do. So that's what I was doing. And I couldn't have any relationships. I couldn't focus to call anyone or return text messages. I just literally went dark and became a hermit for years. That's what happened.
And there's those stages that they make us do that, though.
It's what?
We pull away from society, and we're supposed to go into this spiritual boot camp.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to be dwelling with the humans in that way. We're supposed to be just sitting back and listening to their frequency and their tone and their vibration. And that's where, when you hear these people that go on a spiritual path and a journey for a long time, and then they come out, and they are just so clear, so full of vibration, and they haven't been around all the negativity and all that stuff, and now they're in a clear path. It's very important to understand that happens a lot.
It's, there is the adept, there is a lot of solitude to it. There is time by yourself. You have to spend time with spirit, and it does take time. And I fast track people with my classes and things. We'll talk about all of that later. But, I really had to go through a lot of different things to get the abilities that I've got. It's just part of it. And you don't get them without. And another thing that happened to me, I don't have a monkey mind. I don't have an internal monologue, which many people have, but that was painful AF. What happened was I was doing another healing course, and I think I maybe overloaded, or maybe it happened just by itself. And I ended up, my internal monologue went from very, very noisy, like I was in Grand Central Station, Piccadilly Circus, whatever. And I was just chatter, coming from all different directions, to absolute zero in my head, like quiet beyond quiet. And then I couldn't think. So if I wanted to do anything, there was zero in my head. So none of my own thoughts, none of spirit's thoughts, none of God, none of anything like that, no higher self, just zero. And and then I couldn't read, because I read in a slightly convoluted way, where I hear the words in my head. Not everyone does, but I hear the words in my head. So I couldn't read. So I had to read out loud. If I wanted to do anything, like leave the house, I had to say, like crossing the roads, look left, right, say it out loud. Or I wanted something like a cup of tea, British. Then I'd be like, I'd have to say everything out loud. And if I tried to read, I would have this shooting pain from the base of my spine all the way up, and an explosion in the back of my, back of my head. I had this explosion of pain. I couldn't think or do anything for months. I couldn't do anything. I was, not able to really function for months, not being able to do this sort of stuff. But then my internal monologue shut down. So now I can hear the voice of spirit, the voice of God. My thoughts are quiet, but I know when they're mine. I know when they're theirs. Like, it's easy to identify what's going on. But it was a lot of solitude. And I decided to do a test on it, because I thought, see what happens. So I was like with some friends, and I think they went up to their room, or they were something about it. They were in a hotel. I think they were unpacking or having a shower, and I was like sitting in reception. So I decided to order a load of coffee. I think I had like 3 double espressos or something like that. I just had a lot of coffee to see what would happen with my internal monologue, because, obviously if you drink a lot of coffee, there's a lot of chatter in your head. So I just thought, right, I'm just going to have loads. And I did that, and I was just sitting there, and I was just able to meditate sitting on a chair in reception in this hotel, because there was just no chatter. No matter how much coffee I had, there was no chatter, because my internal monologue shut down. So there are all these weird and wonderful stories that happen to people to be able to become teachers. Like, it's incremental. And once you pass tests, because you're being constantly tested by the divine, and if you behave with grace and integrity, then you get more abilities and you get a deeper connection. But if you fail and you start doing things from a position of selfishness or self-serving, you don't get any more abilities. They'll pull back from you. And that's really, really important. The teachers have integrity and serious integrity through everything that they do.
Right. I really believe I don't force my energy where it doesn't belong. I don't because I want it doesn't mean I get it. You understand? So I've learned to wait, and I'm probably bad at this habit, is like I won't do anything until I like really get a profound calling for them to say, hey, listen to this. We need you. You know what I'm saying? For this situation or this information. Because, because it has to do with that raw insight of getting that trueness. And when you force something, is your left brain telling you you're getting it? Is your right brain telling you you're getting it? But then there's that doubt that comes in, because what's your intention of it? Some things are not meant for us, even though we want that task spiritually, we don't always get it. Just like someone saying, I'm a spiritual teacher because I want it. Doesn't mean it's for you. Doesn't mean you really have the capability.
Well, it's the same with anything. You might want to be an Olympic athlete. Have you done the training? Are you any good? You don't get to the top of your game without actually having some innate natural talent, as well as working your tootsie off,
right.
your tushy off. There you
go. Because I don't have a normal life. I don't know what normal is, because there's a conversation in my head all the time. And that's why when I'm talking, sometimes people don't realize there's like 3 conversations going. And so my vibration of word is, I'll say, whoa, whoa, and then it says, it comes out. So that's the thing about it. When when people are in the moment of it, these awning vibrations come in the tones of the frequency, and your brain is so used to channeling this information. So sometimes it feels like you're down the street and you're hearing it a different tone, and your voice is trying to mimic it. So, and that's the thing.
I mean, that's a really good thing with the discernment as well. So if anyone's a seer or listening to whatever's going on with spirit, and you're listening to them, it's in TV presenting, which I used to do, it's called talkback. You have the producer who's in the office, and they say something in your ear, and they say, okay, make sure that you pick up your product, and and camera left, and all these different things. They're saying things in your ear, and you have to sort of keep talking at the same time, which is actually a really difficult thing. But then sometimes they say something and it's quite a long thing, and they do it when you're on a pause. They do it when someone else is talking, just so that you're doing these things. But, most people, if you are having a lot of information coming through, they are going to have to stop. And then they're going to be like, oh, that was interesting. And they'll be saying it in that way. So if people just keep talking without pausing, without listening to the producer, without listening to the producers upstairs, the proper producers, then maybe that's a good thing with discernment. And maybe those people aren't as enlightened as they claim.
That's why I tell people, when there's a lot of pause and they're supposed to be channeling, if they hear and they're going to the left brain, and they're going to the left brain, they're not listening to how that's coming in, because there's never a pause of the and. There's always
no fillers. That's an interesting thing about fillers.
Information in detail, exact detail, and it's not generalized.
That's the thinking. So an and or a pause or a but or something, that's thinking time, trying to figure out what the heck they're going to say next. And it's also, and so if people are doing that, then they're not hearing it from the producer upstairs, from spirit, from guides, from whomever. So using fillers is a really good way to know when people are potentially making up, with any
right. And the biggest thing with that, their documentation never follows that verification.
Right.
They'll move on to one thing, and then the other, it doesn't match up. And and these students that I have, I mean, you got to understand that I'm not telling them anything, and they're going in and pulling the information, and I'm like, they're dead on. And it's just because they're staying in the right brain, they're pulling the information, they're trusting their instinct, they're trusting their path. That's what's the difference, is they're not going into the left brain trying to entertain. They're saying, I'm just giving you exactly how they're describing it.
Right.
And that's the horrible thing about the field, is they are trying to appease, but entertain, but I'll give you a slight information. And that's not working. And people are figuring that out. They want the raw truth. And I never adapted to getting into that circle of things, because I made people feel uncomfortable because I would see something behind them and say it because I was told to say it at that time. And that's the
Yeah,
thing.
and it's bravery as well, and people don't like it. You can
No, they don't.
definitely rock some apple carts if you keep telling people the truth.
And that's why I tell my students, either speak it, say it, or get out of the energy, because you don't want to sit with it in the side of your gut, and the information, and
It
then
makes
it
you
just
sick.
spins in your head for a while.
It makes you sick. Ruminating about these things, ruminating about not doing the right thing, ruminating about lying or not saying or doing whatever you should have done, that makes you sick. So you need to get right with God and go and do the things you're supposed to go and do if you want to live a healthy, happy, long life.
Right. And so we're at the brink of that. Like I said yesterday, that being on the negative side right now, being in the negative light, working in the negativity, it's not a good place to be right now, because you don't know when your time is up, because you're paranoid, that it's coming soon, because it's not going for you in this world. It's going to end. And the light side, when you're working with the light, it seems like it's just blossoming and flourishing, and it's just abundance is going to start showing, even though you have this whole fear stage that is just on a rampant of just throwing everything negative at once. You just got to stand in the fire like everybody.
What is the fear about? The fear is about emotional loosh, emotional energy, which people are feeding on, which beings are feeding on emotional energy. You get stressed out, that's their dinner.
Right.
We are not top of the food chain. This emotional energy is what is their dinner. So they bully you and say all sorts of nonsense to make you get stressed, to make you get fearful or anxious or whatever. And that is their dinner. So they are incentivized to just twist the knife and say all sorts of nonsense to you. And that's what happens in the news a lot. And that's what happens in different TV shows. It's important to just watch what you're consuming in so many ways, in every way, in videos, in TV, as well as all the foods that you're consuming, and making sure you're getting enough sunlight and good quality water and good quality food. But make sure what you're consuming through your eyes is positive too.
So that's why, like almost 10, 11 days ago, Spirit says you need to do a webinar on the negativity. They don't understand the criteria of the negativity, of what to look for, how to identify it, how to move it out, how to completely move it out of your vision. And that's the thing, because the weakness that it plays on is your flesh needs. And when it knows how to manipulate those, then it goes into the left side of your brain and it pulls down that weakness. And that's why I'm doing a webinar on teaching this class. That I don't ever do webinars on a whole bunch of people out 20 per. I'm setting up 3 different times, but for the start of it. But the thing is they'll have exact criteria to look and go through checklists to check those, because no one's talking about it. No one's showing you to do that, because they don't want that, because that is a money system to push the negative. And so I'm like, here's the list, here's the information, apply it when you're going through that and use it. And that's why I'm doing it. And that's why they told me set this up for them.
Yeah.
So and that's starting next month.
That's cool. Yeah, I've got a couple of things coming up as well. So I've just decided to set up a couple of little events, which we're going to be doing at the 24th. And I'm doing it according to American time zone. So it's going to be like 5 p.m. and my time zones, 5 p.m. and 7 p.m., which is 10. Hang on a minute. It's 9 a.m. and then 11 a.m. And I'm going to be doing one that has, everyone has asked me to do this, and I keep not doing it because I needed to have an assistant starting, and I haven't had the time to do that yet. So I now have an assistant so I can get these things done. So I'm doing one on money magic, which is about removing the blockages from the dark side of the law of attraction. You're attracting lack and not, all the different things that you don't want. Like, it's difficult to attract abundance when you're in a place of lack. So all that stuff needs clearing out of your energy system, because like attracts like. The law of attraction is you attract what you have. So if you've got a poverty mindset, or you've got lack, or you're stressed out about bills, then what happens is you attract more of that, because it looks like the universe thinks you're ordering that when you're really trying to order something entirely different.
Right.
So there's that. There's a billionaire mindset. There's teaching you manifestation techniques and really helping people bring some more abundance into their life. So we're doing that one at 5. Well, it's 9 a.m. Pacific. And then we're doing one after that, which is a general trauma. So it's clearing any traumas that people have got, so they can just bring whatever traumas they've got to the event, and I will work and dissolve everyone's traumas on that. And that will be at 11 a.m. Pacific on the 24th. So there's more information about it. We're going to put it it's in the chat below on my YouTube if anyone's interested. It's £99 for each one. And if you buy both, then you get 50% off the next one I'm going to be doing next month, which is another exciting one, which is about grief and dissolving grief. So that's coming up as well. So we've got a little thing.
That's great. That's great. So the thing is like, I really believe right now, people literally holding the line on everything, like slow and steady, and keep it in a slow and steady pace. Because, like I said, if you're kind of fearful of what's going on right now and what you're going to see in a month and a half, I mean, you got to be prepared. It's like brush off the dust off your pants, because more bigger things are coming. And
what do you think's coming in a month and a half then, Jenny? Come on then, Miss Sight. Tell us what's going on.
Well, I mean, like, I work in missing persons. I know what's... I've been working on these stuff for a long time, and my biggest frustration is the cases that I work in. I can't get into the land areas to go to the target to get the bodies, and because we have the blockage because of Masons and those police departments. Right. And when that goes down, I want the access to get back in there and finish what I started. Right. And bring the healing to the family. So the biggest thing I'm telling you is the worst nightmare for a family. It's not, part of it is when they find their loved ones deceased, but when they can't find where they're at and they don't know where they're at, there's no closure. Yeah. It's an everyday shift of agony. And I feel for that. And to put that at ease, at least they know where they are. Yeah. There's a comfort with being able to heal and move on to a certain potential. Sure. That is an agonizing nightmare daily, and it needs to be put to bed. And everybody's worried about on the surface, but the stuff that needs to come up to the surface is bigger than anything. Right. The things that are hidden. And so the actual witness of you seeing for your own eyes, to see the process of the innocence, and taking the innocence away. And when that surfaces and they have to show that, people like, I want to turn away. And I go, but the thing is, they suffered and sacrificed, and you need to witness this to know that this values their soul of what they went through. Yeah. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be really dark. I'm not attaching to it. It's about you have to honor what's happened to people, the awful things. Right. And then I get it different from a lot of people, how they do remote viewing, because I can actually draw the suspects before it comes in, and then I'm already done with it. And then I'm looking for these, and I've done it a lot, and I want a closure to this. I want a complete closure to these families. Yeah. But I mean, it's going to be years and years of surfacing through this dirt to bring them home. It's just excruciating. And it's just we're in a process of a different information layer of pulling out the Band-Aid is really going to be ripped off, but they need to see it and they need to heal from it and they need to understand it.
You can't heal. Like if you're ignoring things, there's no way to heal. It just festers. You know, you really, and this is where bravery comes in as well. Like there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of sugarcoating in the world. And we're directed towards some real darkness, but there's other, it's almost like they're like, look over here, don't look over here. It's like that sort of stuff.
Right, exactly.
So we're going to be seeing some horrible things, I think, coming up. And I think that, you know, we need to look at them and let them go and heal from them, because otherwise it's just a festering wound.
And that's the thing. Take in the information, let it go into you, hold the information, and then release it. Okay. Don't let it become a part of you, but you need to hold the information, understand it, and then release it. And go, okay, I got to stand up again. I got to see more, because it's part of this transformation to know the truth. It's hard to accept it, but you got to be better.
Let's take some questions. There's some questions. So Maria is asking about learning things. I'm going to talk about my classes towards the end. So you're not too old at 56. That's no problem. I've got people in their 70s. Don't you worry. So that's one thing. So I'll get to my classes at the end, and Jenny can talk more about her offerings too. Susie is just joined. Would like to know about if this is maybe both answers. Maybe I would like to know if we are always reincarnating. If the soul has to go through many lives, how does the soul deal with it? Is reincarnation for the soul, or is it a prison? What do you think on this, Jenny?
It's not a prison. Okay, I want you to understand, when you're seated on this planet, it is a path that the soul goes to change its character and carry the scars of knowledge and understanding. And like, people don't understand, like, well, why did I get shitty parents? Why did they not care? Well, that is your path for which you're supposed to bear, to understand the strength within it, because you would not value it until you look behind and understand the value you get from it. So, and I've asked Spirit about this. They go, 3D past life process does not matter anymore. What matters is the 4D. When we go into it, you're here, you're there, you're in the process. Now let's go forward. Stop looking to the back of you to fix things when it's in front of you. You wouldn't be here unless you went through the knowledge.
I think we're at school. It's not a prison, it's a school. That's the way that I see it. And there are certain lessons that we need to learn. And the way that I talk about it in my classes is I call it a poke, a pinch, a slap, and then hit by a car. It's like you have signed up to learn certain lessons. And if you've got wax in your ears and you decide that you're not going to listen to it, you're not going to behave with grace and integrity. Grace and integrity are very, very important. You have to not be a dick. In all these situations, when things don't go your way, you don't get to have a tantrum. You have a tantrum, snakes and ladders, you go down. And you have to then crawl your way back up again, and no one wants that. You have to behave with grace in situations which are not comfortable. But then it comes through, and are you listening? Are you getting the lessons? Are you listening to the lessons, or are you not? Are you just completely waxing your ears? La, 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 I don't want to see it. I don't want to deal with this stuff, head in the sand. Because if you're doing that, my darling, it's going to come through more aggressively. It's literally a poke, like, hi. There's a lesson you're supposed to learn. Hi. You didn't listen. Okay, then pinch. And they're like pinching you pretty hard. And you're like, okay, you got it now. No, right. Okay. And then it's a real slap. And these can be illnesses. These can be, really severe situations. And then it's a hit by a car. And it can be a literal hit by a car. You need to, all diseases are based on our emotional state, us getting fixated on some horrible things that happen to us. But you still need to let it go and move on. And
because
if you ruminate,
society uses it as a crutch. Yeah, that's their excuse for not healing. That's their excuse for not doing anything.
Yeah, you gotta put your big girl or big boy pants on, and then really face up to the stuff that you've done and that's done to you, and what your culpability is in things, because normally, maybe not with children, but with adults, there's culpability. And and what happened to you may not be your fault, but your healing is your full responsibility, and you need to deal with all of this stuff. And if you don't, the lessons are going to get more aggressive and it's going to get worse for you. You need to just suck it up and process it and go through your stuff and use, on my website, we've just put it below. There's a free trauma healing, or come to one I'm doing in a couple of weeks' time, on the 24th, and we will dissolve your traumas. And then, this is a quick way of doing it. Letting go and becoming at peace with things is a pretty difficult process. One way to do it you can do a free one on my website by signing up to the mailing list. But if you want to just do it by yourself, you can layer things. That's one way of doing it. So think about a really positive memory and think about your really dark memory and merge the two together. So really get yourself into a lovey-dovey happy space, and then start thinking just gradually about that dark memory and see if you can merge the two together and almost cancel them out. That's a way to do it by yourself. But you need to start dealing with your traumas, because we are going through an ascension. And the more traumas you get, the more messy it's going to be for you. It's time to start doing the work now. If you haven't already started, it's time. We really, really need everyone, all hands on deck, because it's going to slow everything for you and slow everything for everybody else too.
I think the biggest thing, and I do the humble healing, I have practitioners for the humble healing. The biggest thing for the healing process is everybody wants their parents to say, I'm sorry or the way I raised you. I'm sorry I put pain in you. I'm sorry I put infliction in you. The thing is that you're still empowering that pain by waiting for their veil of understanding to think that they're ever going to get it. They're not. Yeah. So you have to pull back and say, I don't need this no more. And I want to give it to the light and give it away. And then when you see their faces again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't connect with you because you learned through it. Your parents are not going to come back and say they're sorry. That's not the way it works like this. They're on a different path and they don't see it at the same veil of understanding that you do. And so that is one of the biggest things that I see. People want that, and it doesn't work that way.
What's really interesting as well is a lot of us we've embellished our memories. We've Chinese whispered ourselves. And so we've had something which was tragic or upsetting or devastating in a way. But what we've done is we've retold the story to ourselves, to other people, and we've actually dramatized it. They've a huge percentage, I think it's over 50%. Sure, someone can figure it, can work that out. I think it's over 50% of memories are actually embellished and Chinese whispered. So although it might have been a bad situation, it may not be as big as you see it. And so if you're looking for an apology from a parent who didn't even know that anything had happened, that you're going to be waiting forever. So also be aware that we do Chinese whisper ourselves, and we do embellish our memories a lot, all of us.
Right. So, and I just think that takes a process of looking at it a different way and a different view. And that's why when I teach class, that's the first thing I get them to identify what they're holding and what they need to release completely. Mm-hmm. That's what needs to happen. Because it's not going to do them any good. Your past luggage of your seeds is not doing you any good. It's over. You're just carrying it along. And so spirit is like reset button, reset, get rid of it. And that's what I do with humble healing. And that's the thing. It works instantly. It's not one of these processes that takes forever. So the thing is, but you have to do the work.
Forever is not very good with healing. I'm telling you, there's better stuff. The new stuff is better. Like the new stuff, because we're going into, I teach 5D healing. Like this new stuff is better. If it's not gone quickly, it's not a good enough tool. Let's get the better tools. And there are beautiful people who can do, who've been working with these tools for a long time. But let's think of it in terms of technology. How old is your computer? If your computer is more than 5 years old, it's got bugs in it. It doesn't work very well. You want a brand new computer to be working. And this is the same stuff with healing. The new stuff, you want the up-to-date stuff.
Right.
Which is an alive lineage. That's what's actually going to be, giving you the best tools for now, because it's all changed. Everything is changing all the time. New stuff is coming through.
Right. And so it's just, we're at a process. We don't want to take that with us, but we're taught to hold the luggage, and we don't need it no more.
No. We have a question, Jenny. So this is for you, I think, from Richard Bender. Can we get a hint about "it will bring you to your knees" comment that we're hearing lately? What's going to bring us to our knees then, Jenny? Do you know?
So there's the humbleness of the energy of our future, how we're going to be taken care of, and how we were supposed to be taken care of.
Right.
So that nobleism that, for humanity projects, taking care of our planet, taking care of our earth, taking care of our people, making sure they have a housing, making sure they have food. There, and every soul on this planet at that same time, when they know that, there's a shift with that, because the fear will go away as they see their financial accounts fill up. And there's going to be a relief at the same time coming to them in balance. And they're like, now I can focus on helping others. Now I have the money to help others and share. And then that share uniting energy is going to come together. So what does that happens is this atmosphere of positivity changes. And like I said, negative cannot survive in your happiness. It drowns in it. So that is what I'm saying. It's an energy that's going to change, and it will. It's overwhelming. It's emotional. It's going to bring you to your knees of humbleness. And that's just, it's something that people are not used to. At that moment, I'm going to tell you, at that moment, as one together and as everything is taken care of, all the narratives of black or white or green or purple people, it don't matter anymore, because they're all going to be at the same level, and then they're going to work at the same level. That's what matters. That's why it'll bring you to your knees of like, wow, what a relief, what a balance, what a good positive energy, and feeling honored by it. So yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions? Please just put them in the chat on YouTube, and we will be able to answer more questions if anyone has any. Okay, so Jenny, we were talking about, it's not all sunshine and roses. What horrible things have happened to you?
I'm gonna God, this was probably 9 years ago. I got really sick. I just got to a point where I went through a spiritual filtration of projecting everything out that I didn't need anymore. And I knew in the back of my head, Spirit goes, if this comes down, it's going to take you down for a bit.
Right.
And it did, to a point that I did literally, I couldn't eat food. I was barely functioning. I got to tell you, this is overwhelming with Spirit, because this is what happened. And so I would hide. I wouldn't let anybody know what was going through and how I was dealing with it. But they could tell I was losing weight left and right. And I would go in my room and I would just hide. But I got to tell you, the thing that I heard is Spirit's voice going, one more day, one more day, one more day. And they were right. They had the patience with me day by day by day to get me through it. And that's something I'll never forget, because when no one else is there, and even you're not exposing what's there, they're always there to know what you're going through. They see it all. And so that was, it took a while. I got through it, but we all know there's some stuff that's sitting in the brew of us that we have to get rid of. And we're afraid of what it's going to do. But when it's done, it's the best thing ever.
So a couple more questions. What do you know about South Africa? Role there? What are we looking for? Is there anything going on there that you know about?
So what I think that is going to be a new spiritual land. And when I heard about the water running through those passages of those areas and stuff like that, it's important. So, and in that region, they're always their vibration and their connection to their spirit has always been important. So it's kind of like a region that's done their work, that has gone through the hardest path, gone through the starvation, gone through, making you humble about things. So I'm just telling you, I see a different type of city being built there, and a very spiritual connection process with those people.
Okay.
And
And anything
that's a community that's going to come together big time.
Okay. And the next one is, anything, do you know about Mr. T and what's going on with the arrest?
The shepherd. So the shepherd, his name is the shepherd. The spirits always call him that. So I want you to describe this. Just think of where he's got to go for a barrier of protection as everything else has to fall down. There is a reason for it. So is he really arrested? No. He's just in an isolated way, so they can't blame him when everything else is going to fall down. I'm just telling you it's coming, and we're talking soon. And I told people, as I feel energy, I can't push this too far anymore. It's coming very, very soon. And I think his process is the starting gate of the dismantling.
Right.
And the lights out.
That's going to be the big event that's going to wake everyone up and change everything around.
Right, exactly. So, and I've been saying that for a while, and it's just it's part of that process. So, again, that's a narrative. They're presenting a show. I mean, after all these times, everything's been fought, and then the other one's just completely saturated in criminal activity, and nothing has happened. By now, if you realize that this is a show, you have still a lot of work to go if you can't see that.
It's a wild time, isn't it?
Reality, you're choosing not to see it.
It's a wild time. Right, I'm going to answer the question because I think we're sort of coming towards maybe another 10 minutes or so. I don't want to make the video too long. So I want to answer Maria's question about the healing courses, and you can talk about your offerings as well. Okay, so I've got, so I teach healing. And as I said, I think we're gods and goddesses. And I've spent the last 20 years or probably more than that downloading magic and awakening my energy system. And now I have healing courses you can watch sitting at home, relaxed. And I don't do them live anymore because of the time zone issue that Jenny mentioned. It's just a complete nightmare. So it's better to have it pre-recorded, but we have communities and Telegram groups, and everyone can do exchanges and that sort of stuff. So you just literally sit there, watch videos and get superpowers. I awaken your natural innate superpowers, which are locked up tight. And then from level 1, you can dissolve traumas. And it's a two-pronged thing. So you can do awaken your energy system and the emotional healing. So it's like a path of enlightening, because to actually get more abilities, you need to have a more evolved energy system. When you evolve your energy system, you get more abilities. So it sort of works hand in hand. I don't separate them. I know some schools do, but it's the same thing. You can't get more abilities without having more of the without your system being more awake. And the more so that's what happens. So it's an awakening school. So then you get more and more abilities as you progress, and it's about, we learn how to dissolve traumas from level 1, and you get into emotional I think diseases are based in emotions, and you get more and more into the physical based diseases as you progress. And we've got the cellular regeneration, which is my new cool stuff about reverse aging, which we're not going to talk about today, but I will be talking about that with Ishmael on Tuesday it is 8 p.m. British Standard Time and noon Pacific Time for Ishmael's time. We're going to be talking about cellular regeneration, reverse aging there. But that's on level 12. So you can progress up the levels, but you learn how to really become self-reliant. My company is called Divine Empowerment because I want people to be empowered divinely to learn all these things for themselves. I want people to not have to watch the videos and awaken your system, but not have to be hanging on other teachers' words or my words even, really, really learn discernment and really, really learn sovereignty, because that's what everyone needs, is to be able to do this stuff for themselves and to also avoid getting sick in the first place, because we've dealt with what's causing us to be sick. When you've gone outside, you're making sure, obviously, you're eating the good food, but making sure and consuming positive stuff rather than this negative stuff, but then cleaning up your energy system and awaken your energy system so that you can really be in the best health. and it awakens your system, and you become like level 7, you become angelic, and then you can do some really cool big stuff. So that's all on my website, divineempowerment.com. And there's a 10% discount code if you want to be doing, if you want to sign up for either level 1 or the bundle with the code Divine10, or you can sign up for a healing with me or one of my practitioners, all on the website, Divine10, to get discounts. So that's what I'm doing. So I wanted to answer Maria on that. Jenny, what are you offering?
So this is, I deal with that situation on a one-on-one personal basis. So what I tell people, I wait to have people contact me and we have a conversation, and then I analyze it with spirit and tell them where they're at that level. And that's, I just make it simplified because that's how I like it, make it personal, and then go from there. Sure. That's the way I say. You just got to reach out and set up a time just to discuss. You feel inside your gut that you're in that process, and then I can verify it by having a conversation with them. So everything for me is through them.
So Ricky Lee has just said, Jenny or Antonia, do you think there will be an even bigger shift in energy happening before the end of this year? What do you think, Jenny?
Yes.
What do you think is going to happen?
Sooner than you think. And it's already happening, and that's the thing about it. Like I try to tell people, the way your food is, your vegetables, your tomatoes are growing bigger. There's more nutrients. You're desiring these nutrients better. Your trees are acting different. Your animals are acting different. It's already here. We're not taught to be paying attention to it because it's the slight things that are changing. Animals in the ocean are surfacing that you've never seen before. Animals are acting different from what you've seen before. And so it's reacting to the environments that are in this world. So, and then there's going to be a bigger shift, which I have drawings on Instagram about how these circular motions and how the keys are already creating those energies upon this planet. It's already in it, but it's going to get stronger and more abundance and more warm and more inviting and more intriguing.
Beautiful. So warm, do you think the temperatures are going to increase on the planet, or
no, it's an energy around you that you feel
right.
inside, that resides inside your spiritual essence, and then around you. I mean, I kind of teach that in class anyway, but you could feel it. And I got to tell you, this week, every student I've been dealing with, it's been emotional. I mean, right. And I told yesterday, I said, Spirit, I'm not crying one more time today, okay? Because it's overwhelming of the goodness that's coming. And we're getting the information, and they're feeling it more, and it's impacting more, and they're showing more, and the details are more. So it's a process of this phenomenal details.
Right.
So it's an exchange on both ends.
That's fun. That's really cool. All right. So is there anything, I've got another, oh no, we said that end of this year. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I mean, I just think everything's getting bigger and better. I really do. I think there's more light coming through. I think people are more awake. I think as Jenny said, it's about the Band-Aid being ripped off. I think that we are going to see some stuff that we don't want to see, but it's festering and it's dark and it needs to be exposed. So on one side, it's going to look really terrible. And on another side, it's going to be exposing the stuff, and you can only get the light in when you expose it. So right. I do think I think we're going to have some shocks and some scary moments and things which are going to come through. But ultimately, this stuff has been going on regardless of us knowing about it. And now we're bringing light into darkness. So I think, but ultimately there'll be more light. So we just have to be brave and learn that, this is what's happening, and it's time for the things to be exposed in a really big way. I mean, interestingly, I went to a gig the other day. I saw Florence in the Machine, and she asked for a HUMANSACRIFACE. Like, she asked for that on stage. And I went, what the heck is that? She actually said, who wants to do that? I'm only asking for one thing from you. I want this. I want this. And I went, what the hell is this? And I'm leaving, because the thing is, as well, with black magic, there is an element of if consent, and if you stay there, then there will be something of maybe like sapping some of your life force or something like that. So I was like, we are getting out of here. Like, but just literally walking out means there's no consent given. And then obviously I did a load of work on the crowd and made sure that everyone was okay and that there was nothing taken from anybody, and I shut everything down very quickly. But that was frigging weird. And so I think that my point being on that is that I don't know how many times she's done it, or maybe people haven't noticed, but I think the things which have been going on are being seen now. And maybe people haven't noticed that before. And a lot of people walked out the gig. And I'm a big fan of hers, not anymore. So that was really upsetting. Then I spoke to a friend of mine in the industry, and he said, this has been happening since the 80s. And I went, what? I didn't know, So I just think there's more light coming in, and it may seem that it's dark, but it's always darkest before dawn. And we are learning that these things are actually have been going on forever. And that's
well, I
just
think anybody, this is the thing I'll tell you. Now, this is a quote that is true. Now, a healer or a spiritual teacher or anything, and this is where you get that bad energy, when you have to draw all these collective in together, and then you're using their energy, their gifts, because you're spotlighting yourself, and you don't have the energy, but you're pulling everybody else's. And then when you actually highlight, and say something, hey, this isn't right, then they're like, oh, you're evil. Because you're asking that question because you've identified it, and I'm like, and then like I said, there's some profound psychics and mediums can see through what they're doing. But when you see this as a collective, as a group together, and they're wanting to really suck up your energy and use it for themselves, you have to be careful with that, because Spirit showed me a long time ago on this, like, don't you dare get in a group and do that exchange in that way on an earthbound, because they're just absorbing your energy and using it, and they don't have the ability. It's a witch's brew, they call it.
Yeah. So yeah, consent's a really important thing. So it's very important. So if you just say no to things, you can actually turn a lot around. I do not consent to this. This is not okay. You can actually, there's not much they can do when you don't consent. That's quite an important thing, but it's to know that you're under attack, because there's a lot of attack with all this sort of work as well. Like, I've been attacked significantly for many, many years. And I think that that's a big thing that isn't really spoken about. And that, a lot of my tiredness has been the evolutionary work, but a lot of it has been basically vampires of old teachers stealing my life force and propping themselves up. That is a big, big thing. But and it's having a strong enough system, or knowing it's happening,
Right.
knowing it's happening is a very difficult thing. If you don't know it's happening, you can't fix it. And that's been a problem for me, for sure.
Right. And that's why I say somebody that's been doing it within only 5 years, I mean, it's a joke. It's just a joke. So at the end of this, that one will be running in another direction because it's not strong enough. So the thing is, I'm literally telling you the strength in these beings you're going to know. You can feel it. It resides in them, and it resides in them now, and you can feel it now. And you can feel the weakness now. You can tell it right now.
Everything's getting exposed. We're going to know who's who and what's what, because of a falsehood is just going to be lifted in every stretch of the world.
Well, they'll be hiding, period. Because the conscience of the new quantum system can see through all of that too, by the way. They can't hide from it anymore.
Yeah. No, it's coming through. And I'm looking forward to this, the peace and the truth coming through, because and also truth is a big problem that we have. Like, I mean, I find truth very, very important. It's one of the most important things to me. And I think we've been fed this narrative that white lies are okay, that it's okay to lie, it's okay to not have integrity. And actually, we're seeing so many people who are just lying through their teeth constantly, and there are no repercussions for it on the human level at the moment. And I mean, I can see that with politicians in the UK. I'm thinking about our politicians over here, and they've been caught out in a lie, and they've actually done these things time and time again, and no one really cares. And that's not okay. And I don't think that's going to last much longer. I think people are going to say, no, we're going back to values, we're going back to truth, and we're going back to integrity. And people who are not living from that place, I think, won't have any status anymore. I think that they're just going to fall. And I think it's time for them to fall, because if people are habitually lying just to get themselves out of trouble, then they're not with God, full stop.
Well, you know what I call them is product pushers, and then fear comes. Product pushing and then fear. Product pushing and then fear. It comes coincide together, and it's automatic. When something event happens in the world, and they're like, now let me push this product, and now let's put fear in it. And that's a whole package deal. Right. And you have to stand out by the box, and you have to stand and say, nope, we're not doing this, because you're taking advantage of the situation. And the way I look at it is, that's why I tell people, listen to your instinct, back up from the situation. Don't buy something on like fear process, and you're getting you entailed into that whole pain.
Well, everything's fear, isn't it? I mean, look, marketing is about, FOMO. I was told this the other day. It's fear and FOMO, like fear of missing out. Like you buy the lipstick, or you buy the whatever it is, clothes or something like that, because you worry that you're not going to have it. Marketing is based on fear of missing out. So they're always trying to put fear into you, because fear is a great way to get people to product spend. That's how it works.
Yeah.
You're not cool unless you have X, Y, and Z. You look too old, you look too this, you look too that. And it's not really about your health.
Yeah, but that's not going to matter in the future. Those things are not going to matter. Those items, all that persona, it does not matter. It doesn't matter now. But the ones are still looking over their shoulder thinking it does. You just got to go, it doesn't. Stop. Yeah. It doesn't matter as we speak right now. It doesn't.
Okay, so any other things you want to say before we close, Jenny? We're at 111. There you go.
Yeah, 111. I'll be on Gale of Gaia's show tomorrow.
Nice. Gale of Gaia?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah. So
and as mentioned, I'll be with Ishmael Tuesday at noon Pacific, 8 p.m. British Standard Time on Tuesday next week. So you can ask me any questions that you've got. So any questions that you've got, you can ask, because I'm going to be doing lives regularly with various different people. So anything you want to know, inquiries at divineempowerment.com. Go to my website, divineempowerment.com, and have a look through the products. So I've just got a new sparkling website. It's just been set up. So if you want to learn magic, then go there using the code Divine10. And we will.
I'm not sure the internet's going to be around next week.
What?
I'm not sure everything's going to be up and running next week at all.
Would you? Holy moly. Hang on a second, Jenny. What does that mean?
I told you that the energy is close, and I'm feeling it.
You think that it's gonna be the shutdown of electricity and things next week then?
Well, it's rolling. It'll be rolling in regions. So you're going to have this rolling effect on everything, a rolling internet, rolling power. That roller coaster is going to start.
Oh, so it's going to be in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know exactly, Carol. I'm saying what? I'm with Carol. What? So you think that there's going to be, patchy internet and patchy electrics?
Oh yeah.
So one thing Jenny did say, and if people don't know this, I think it's a great piece of advice that Jenny said to me the other day, is make sure everyone's is on signal. Just because that one is going to be, you think that one's going to be working when things go dark, that's still going to.
Yeah, you put it on airplane. You put it on the airplane mode when things go down, and you'll be able to use it. That's why I always I made my groups form into that, because I already knew that it was always going to happen when things go down. Signal has its own signal, so it can't be tapped into and it can't be corrupted. So just telling you, get prepared. So
yeah, just make sure that your family are on signal. We don't work for them. They're donation based. I did actually give them £10 earlier because it's donation based, and I saw that and I thought, you know what, actually they probably deserve that. They do help me out. So yeah, just get yourselves onto signal. I've got a Telegram group as well, so you can follow that, Divinely Empowered. Jenny's got one on Signal if anyone's interested there. yeah, just make sure that you are connecting just in case things do go funny for a bit. Just make sure you're on signal just in case, or have a landline, and have a landline, because I've still got a landline in my house because I just think it's a wise thing to do. Not that is it even plugged in? It is plugged in. I've got a spare like ancient 90s phone in the cupboard waiting as well, just in case we need it with a cord.
Right.
Which is just
Landline.
landline.
Yeah, I got one.
Landline should still work. Do you think landlines are going to work, Jenny, if this
Yes, I do.
it should work? Landlines and signals. So just get your friends and family and your dear ones onto signal, just in case things do go funny. I think it's a good idea to have backup, and always have backup with food and water, just in case things go funny. I don't think they probably will get dark, but it makes me feel at peace knowing that I've got that stuff there. What do you think?
Yeah. It's just preparing. Yeah.
I think it's wise to be prepared. I just do think being prepared is a wise thing. Cool. Anything else you want to talk about, Jenny, before we finish? Or are you good?
All my predictions and stuff are currently developing and all that stuff. You can go on Instagram and see all the pictures, and Patreon has more of a details of information on that. That's all in line together. So I think
Jenny's all about data points, and Jenny's all about go back. I made this prediction, and then this has been proven. So that's the one thing I really appreciate about her. She doesn't, like make up some excuse for getting things wrong. She just has data points and precision, and she puts her neck out and says, this is what's going to happen. And then she's got, like, on your website, I think you've got a list of all the things which have been proven. You've got things timestamped and showing people when things are, when you predicted and when they actually came true, which I think is really, really important with seers, because it's all too easy to make up some excuse. Yeah, it's easy to say timelines have shifted. It's easy to say that something's happened, but then the Delphi one. What was the seer of Delphi? What's her name?
I don't know. No, Delphi.
Oh, there was an ancient Roman seer who was incredible, and she was hanging out underneath a volcano, and it was volcanic, the smoke from the volcano, which was making her basically trip balls. And that was making her super psychic, something of Delphi, Oracle of Delphi, her name was. And she basically would just be absolutely sort of skipping around and off her noodle, because she had these sulfur gases from the volcano. And she would write predictions onto the Nostradamus was using also smelling things that he was sniffing to be able to get really, really deep into these things. And she was writing the predictions onto leaves. And then people were just collecting the leaves around her. And then she had all these leaves, and she went to go to the King of Rome. And she asked for, I think, 9 bags of gold or something, which was an outrageous amount of money. And then he said, no, I'm not going to give you that. But all the priests in the room were like, this is the most important thing in the world. Please give it to us. Please give it. Please buy it. And he said, no. And so she just burnt a third of them, and then asked, and they said, please, please, please. And then she just wanted 9 bags of gold for 2/3 of it. And he said, no. And then she only had a third left and got the 9 bags of gold for just a third of it. But her predictions were accurate. And one of them was about in Rome having the grain. There's a problem with the grain there. They said you're going to end up having a famine. So they decided to store all this grain and to make sure that it was all safe. And then it rotted. They ended up having a famine because the grain had rotted. So, there are some, and Nostradamus, and the very, very good seers, no matter what happens according to timelines, they're still accurate because they're seeing beyond timelines. They're seeing the ultimate timeline and where it's going to be going. So the really, really good seers, their predictions should maintain an accuracy, which is what Jenny's is doing.
Yeah, and that's why I always confirm documentation following the verification. And I just went through a video that I just looked on Instagram. It was in 2019. It's talking about the current day and time right now. And I'm like, wow, I'll have to go back. And then I was like, verifying. So that's the whole thing about it. It's because it's not once in a while, it's consistent of downloads, putting it out. It's all the time.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool. Well, thank you very much, Jenny, for being here. And everyone, please do go and check out her website, which is
www.jennysssight.net.
Brilliant. And yeah, I thank you everyone for joining us live. And if you've watched it later, thank you for that. Any inquiries at divineempowerment.com. And you are tomorrow. What time is your show tomorrow, my love? Tomorrow being the 24th
I'm doing it
of August. What time?
6 o'clock Central Time.
6 o'clock Central Time on the 24th of August.
Yeah, Gale of Gaia.
With who? Gaia?
Gale of Gaia, yeah.
Pale of Gaia, is it?
No, Gale of Gaia.
What she said. And I'm, as I said, I'm with Ishmael on the 29th at noon Pacific, 8 p.m. British Standard Time. So look forward to seeing everybody there. That's going to be a good one. So thank you, everyone, for joining. And thank you and goodbye. Bye.
Bye.